Hello, welcome to Paint by Blunders video 4. Slowly getting through them. I just wanted to do a quick video just to say a huge thank you to everyone who's subscribed, liked, commented, or just generally viewed the videos. I plan on doing a lot more, and I've got a few ideas that I want to throw out there that are probably going to come. The first is probably going to come next week. But I just want to do a quick video just to say thank you very much. It's awesome. I love doing them. It's great fun. And just quickly, but two things in the video that are a little bit outside of the norm for what we do in the hobby, that are quite popular now. First one, streaking grime. It's got quite popular, and I use it for a little bit in this. Fantastic, really good, and I intend to use it for a lot more things in the future. I recommend adding it to your hobby tools. The second one is white ink. I think this costs probably the same as about a pot of contrast anyway. You won't use it all the time, but I think it's brilliant. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this latest video, and I hope you enjoyed the little intro I did. I don't know why I do them, I just think it adds a little bit of flavour. Anyway, thanks a lot, and enjoy Paint by Blunders video 4. So, back in the room, we have grey primed in Ghoulish Grey, which is the Colourforge version of Grey Seer. And first up, we are going to look at the metallics. Vallejo Game Colour Chainmail for this first one. And we're just going to go around doing the pot, the hammer, and his tongs, boots and such. I love the way this goes on. It's a good colour. Highly recommend you check them out. Balthazar Gold for the accent metal, I'd say, or whatever you want to call it, which is like his helmet, and I think just a few other tiny little pieces. Now that's done, we're going to go on to the apron, and for that we're going to use Warm Brown by Pro Acrylic, and we're just going to go around painting that in, just trying to be careful not to catch any of the metallics we've done. Not go into some of the edges that we will be putting contrast on, just so we don't have to do any tidying up, or minimise the tidying up. Accidents happen, or blunders happen. And now that that's done, we're going to start picking out the boots, the gloves, anything we want black. And for that we're going to use Black Legion, because it is absolutely perfect for this sort of thing. The consistency is spot on. And I'm just going to go around and just trying to be careful, because as much as contrast is very handy, it's not that forgiving when you make a mistake, in my opinion. Now that is all done, we're going to look at the remaining bits of brown. And for that, I'm going to go nice and fast with it and go for Wildwood, the contrast paint, because it's just going to save me some time here. And I'm going to use it on bits that, you know, I'm not trying to catch that much attention, and bits that are a little bit more awkward to get to. One thing I did remember that I didn't learn from last time was the little studs on his leatherwork that I'm doing now. I painted in silver. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry about trying to go around them too much with the contrast. It's easier just to touch them in afterwards than it is to try and mess around going around 3 small silver studs whilst you're putting contrast on. So now that all of that black contrast is on, we're going to start putting some shades down on the metallics and also the black that we just did. Black Wash by Pro Acrylic. I always harp on about this one. I absolutely love it. It's like the perfect mix between Nuln Oil and like a thin contrast paint. I use it for pretty much everything. And we're just making sure that we're just pushing that contrast into the deepest recesses, just to try and give us that maximum amount of shadow. With the black wash all done, we're going to start moving on to the apron again, and I'm going to use Gore Grunter Fur contrast just to give it a reddy tint, essentially like a reddy orange tint. It was also at this point I realised one of my lights was off, and it should start getting a bit brighter now. There we go. And with that done, this is where things get a little bit different. We're going to try streaking grime, and we're going to place this on the cauldron, his tongs, and the apron. A thing to note with this stuff is you do need mineral spirits, which is basically white spirit, and some cotton buds just to wipe it away. So the way this stuff works, you put it on either a little bit and try and feather it out, or coat it and then wipe it away, or a combination of the two. But you do that with mineral spirits because it's enamel based. And our plan is to just feather it in from the bottom of the apron upwards, feather it down from the cauldron, and then coat the weapon. And let's just see how we get on. I must admit, I was a little bit intimidated at first because I thought, oh no, I'm going to kill it. But we'll see what happens. I'm also using a cheap makeup brush that I got from Amazon just to put this on. Now I'm just using the cotton bud with a little bit of spirit on and just wicking away round on the weapon. And I absolutely love how this sort of looked. It was actually surprisingly easy as well. I was quite surprised by that. And the same for the cauldron. I don't know if you can see it. I tried to move it a bit closer, but the effect is really cool. I bet you can do some really interesting things with this. So this is where I'm going back in just to do the bottom of the apron. And as you can see as well, I just put a little bit more on the cauldron that I'm going to feather in. But yeah, absolutely loving this stuff. I do highly recommend you pick yourself up a bottle, treat yourself, and just have a play with it. So what I'm doing now, after I've put all of the grime on, I'm just coming in with a little bit of the spirit on the brush, and I'm just working it up the apron, just to fade out that transition a bit. And as you can see, as I'm going around, it makes it look really, well, it makes it look very leathery, like a natural leather. The crud is collected more at the bottom, and it just adds a really, really nice effect. And you can just keep going through and just blend it away. And with the grime done, I think we can call that a success. I'm really happy with how it looks. So next up, we are going to start looking at the flesh, because he looks a bit odd like this. And we are starting with Bugman's Glow. With the flesh done, or the first coat on it, I'm going to come in with the white ink and just pick out the runes on his cauldron. Mainly just to help with later on when we start trying to add a bit of glow to them. I just want to get it in now. And I'm using a extra small artificer for this. Just something very small with a good point is all you need for this, and just trust yourself not to go outside the lines. So we're in with the skin, Bugman's and Cadian. I've put both of them on the wet palette and then put the mid-tone, I'm mixing them both together. And I'll just work it from there. And when I do my skin tones, it's always quite watery, the paint, compared to how I would use for like basing, etc. And that is just to build it up slowly so you don't get a real clumpy skin tone. You want it to be nice and smooth and try and build up that highlight. After we've done that first highlight, we're going to come in with Reichland Flesh Shade, and just with a little bit of water in it as well, just go over all the flesh again, just to try and blend the two together before we just highlight it up again. Try and get that smooth transition. Just trying to pick out the more raised edges, anything that would catch the light a little bit more. Next up, we're going to start highlighting our browns with Baneblade Brown for anything we did in Wildwood, and Warm Brown for anything that we did, well, his apron, essentially. And we're just going to pick out some of the highest edges. We're not going to spend too much time on it because we don't want it to be much of a focal point for our eyes. For all our metallics, we're just going to give them an edge highlight with Stormhost Silver. Once again, we're only picking out the highest points, sharpest edges, nice clean lines, or as best we can. So with that all done, we're going to come in now and highlight the black sections. We're going to start with Eshin Grey, and then we're going to go up to Administratum Grey after that. And as soon as this step's done, we're going to start working on that flame with a lot of dry brushing mainly. With the black highlighted, we're going to start working on this flamey glow effect now. And there's a way that I'm going to do this using 4 colours, and they are Stegodon Scale Blue, Araman Blue, Temple Guard Blue, and Baharoth Blue. And we're going to just basically work each one into the next one, starting with the darkest. And we're going to dry brush nice and light, and we're just going to try and slowly bring that gradient down, going from dark to light. Now there are probably much better ways to dry brush than what I'm doing, but this is just the way I've always done. I just flick it back and forth. It's a bit haphazard, but it seems to work all right. Also, I'm not too worried about hitting the smoke or the cube itself, because I'm going to come in later and paint those white and then, you know, put some shades on it from there. But where I'm trying to get that OSL sort of look, that as if the cube is shining on the helmet of his, I'm making sure that I'm trying to dry brush and just flick it across, just hitting what I think the light would be catching. I'm just making sure as well that I'm going over the cauldron to give that some sort of glow around these runes and such. So this is where we get to after the dry brushing, and there's just a few more things that I want to do to the cube, etc., and then I'm calling this guy done. So I've put a coat of Baharoth Blue on the cube, and I'm going to go through now and just apply white to all the smoke and put some ink back in the runes to make them stand out again. So there we are with the white applied and the inks. I used bold titanium white by Pro Acrylic just because I think it's got fantastic coverage. Now we are going to apply Aetheric Blue, 50-50 mix with either medium or water, whichever you prefer. I've used a touch of medium, and we're just going to go over the smoke with it. You can water it down if you're feeling a bit like over water it, and then just put a second coat on if it's not as dark or it's not popping how you want it to. And if it is a little bit too strong and it's pooling in a way that you don't like, there's a few points that when I was applying this that I thought, it's a little bit too strong. You can go in with just a little bit of water on your brush, give it a rinse and just wick it off. Let that brush just absorb the contrast off the model again. One final step before we can base him and say he is complete. And that is just a tiny little edge highlight of the white on the smoke, just to help that separation, and on the edges of the cube. I'm using bold titanium white again by Pro Acrylic, but use any white of your choosing. And that is our Warforger complete on the spinning wheel. Thank you very much for watching Paint by Blunders, and if you'd like to subscribe, comment, like, it all really helps me out, and I'll see you next time.